Can women with prolapse lift weights? Well, yes, you can. I have just done a workout. But the real question isn't whether you can lift. The real question is how often and how your body responds. Because if you've been told to stop lifting completely, just like me, I was told this, or you're worried every squat, deadlift, or gym session is going to make your prolapse worse, then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to explain what I tell my own clients and what I've learned from my own experience of prolapse and a levator avulsion. Now, one of the biggest things that I have seen after a prolapse diagnosis is the fear. I did what everyone seems to have done. You get diagnosed with a prolapse and then you type into Google, what do I do with a prolapse? And then fear mongering happens. Women start questioning everything. So should I stop lifting? Should I stop running? Am I making things worse? Is my prolapse getting worse every single time I exercise or lift my children? And the result is often that women become less active, which is so sad, and less confident, and then more fearful of movement. And we've only just kind of got used to the fact that women need to lift heavy weights and get strong. We know the benefits of it. And then we're torn between lifting and moving or worrying about our prolapse symptoms. I know because I've been there. I have been exactly where you are now, being told never to lift, never to squat, no end state. So can women with prolapse lift weights? In many cases, yes. But there isn't a blanket rule that says every woman with a prolapse should stop strength training. But there also isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. And I know that's really annoying because I often see it myself when I'm doing research. And what works for one woman may not work for another. And the key is understanding how your body actually responds and what stage of prolapse and where you're actually at in your recovery journey. Has it just happened? Are you 10 years down the line? So what actually matters? Well, the symptoms. Ask yourself, how do you feel during exercise? How do you feel afterwards? How do you feel the next day? Symptoms can give us useful information. They're kind of like a car when they're showing up on the dial, different lights. They're telling us what that car needs at that moment in time. And we don't just want to ignore it. They're just one piece of the puzzle. I notice that when I train, sometimes I feel heavy afterwards. But after realizing my symptoms, it's generally fatigue because the pelvic floor is a muscle. So I have just exercised that muscle and it's feeling fatigue because a few hours later, everything is fine again. Or I've had the opposite where I'm feeling really symptomatic and then I go and strength train and halfway through a session, my symptoms have gone. The second one is load. So just because you used to lift a certain amount doesn't mean that that's where you need to start straight away. Not just yet. You need to understand your body better. Sometimes reducing the load temporarily can build confidence and capacity. Pull it back to basics. And I know you just have to be a bit patient. I've been there. Recovery. Recovery matters. Sleep, stress, illness, your menstrual cycle, life load of being a mother. Many women notice symptoms fluctuate depending on what's happening in the rest of their life. And I know mine certainly do. And I actually didn't really pay much attention to this until very recently. I was told all of this, how your nervous system responds to your pelvic floor. And if you are tired, you may feel more fatigued. I noticed that, and I noticed it with my menstrual cycle. But recently I was under a lot of life pressure, a lot of load, a lot of stress to do with my children and to do with holiday, trips away, business work. And I felt so symptomatic. And I actually feared that my prolapse was getting worse. It wasn't. The load lifted and my prolapse symptoms went away. Next one is pressure management. And this was the big key for me finding out after having my children. Pressure is part of life. We create pressure. We need pressure to poo, to cough, to sneeze, to take the load when a 7-year-old boy runs for a cuddle right at you. You just brace. So the goal isn't to avoid pressure. The goal is learning how to manage it and tolerate it more effectively because air chooses the path of least resistance. And if that pressure is it's going to go down. So Movement is often part of the solution. And I bet you have been told not to move, or you've read it on somewhere online. The answer isn't to stop exercise. Sometimes it's making small adjustments for a period of time, learning what works for your body. For example, these are some of the things I do and I've given my clients. So breathing out during effort, adjusting foot positioning or stance or width. So staggering my stance sometimes when I do a barbell row, using a block or a ball in between the knees when you squat to help activate those inner thighs and your core, reducing range of motion temporarily. This is key for people who are hypermobile. Hello, me. Reducing load while confidence and strength improves. This is a big one. Pulling back just so that you can feel good in your body again. And that could be a massive thing. Like I said, going back to the fear, if you're feeling confident moving, then your body will not tense up so much and it can feel better. The goal isn't to find the perfect technique either. The goal is to find a version of the movement that feels manageable for your body where you're at right now. And just because a squat brings on symptoms today doesn't automatically mean squats are bad. I really want you to know that, because I was told by a few gynecologists, don't squat, don't lift weights. Okay, if I can't do that right now, what's the end game? Is this a forever thing? But I wasn't aware in myself to know to ask those questions yet. My experience after my own birth injury, prolapse, levator, avulsion diagnosis, I generally thought parts of exercise might be over. I was scared that my organs were falling out my vagina and I shouldn't move, because all of the experts were telling me that too. So what I've learned many, many years is that symptoms fluctuate. You can definitely lift weights. Confidence fluctuates too. Strength training wasn't the problem. Running wasn't the problem. It's learning how my body responded was the key. And I've had periods where symptoms feel worse, and what helped wasn't avoiding movement. It was understanding my body, making adjustments when needed, and gradually building up my confidence again. So, can women with prolapse lift weights? Often, yes, but it's not about finding a list of safe and unsafe exercises. It's about understanding your body, monitoring symptoms, managing load, and building confidence over time. I want you to know, just surround yourself by positivity. I find going into these community groups where there's prolapse talk, it can be very distressing and upsetting, and it doesn't help you feel better in your body, and it's definitely not true. So it's good to surround yourself by positive stories, information, and believing that you can actually get strong even before having babies, lift weights, move your body how you want to. And if you'd like to learn more, I've put together a little free webinar on becoming stronger without fear, where I go into a bit more detail, and you'll find the link below.